Good morning, folks. There is only one way we could start today's news. Two large earthquakes struck the planet yesterday. The first was a 7-pointer that struck New Zealand, and the second was a near 8-pointer that hit the Aleutian Islands of Alaska. A miniature tsunami was created that was never more than a few centimeters high. That was likely due to the depth of about 75 miles, muting the effects up on the surface, and luckily, amazingly, there were no casualties. There's not even any reports of significant damage. In fact, the most effect these had was to send some local villagers in Alaska to higher ground as a precaution and setting off the observers worldwide watching for a potential tsunami that wasn't to be. We had thought that the earthquake watch would be above average with the transequatorial coronal hole. However, what we did not expect was two separate 100-proton shock waves that didn't even make the magnetosphere budge. Now, whether that was due to the lower speed, the magnetism of the plasma cloud, or the weaker shield simply missing it and not integrating the energy, whatever it was, that corkscrew eruption center disk gave us one of the oddest space weather impact sequences I've ever seen. Let's move on to a bit of a lighter note. Not only did this individual want to capture the night movement of stars, he wanted to present the celestial axes if possible, the polar point in the sky that never moves as the Earth spins around it. It's linked for you below. Folks, after cold dominated the planet Earth to the dismay of the AGW crowd for 18 months, we predicted a powerful El Nino coming on this year. The video with this title can be found on our YouTube channel or just by Googling it. We felt it was time for the other half of climate extremes, the heat, and boy are we getting it now. The May State of the Climate Report, Global Analysis Edition, has been released. It does usually take them most of the next month to compile and put together the report for the previous month, and indeed most of the selected extremes were found to be in that heat range, except of course for Antarctica, which continues to be well above average and setting records regularly, except for that one little part of the western sheet with volcanoes right underneath it. The following shows the onset of El Nino heat on a global scale. This is the whole year of 2014 so far, and after taking in the position of hot and cold, watch what happens when we eliminate January and February. And again, watch what happens when we look at just the month of May. Folks, there it is. It's El Nino time. I'm truly proud of NOAA for tossing this one in here as well. They still don't show back before 1880 when the sinusoidal pattern was actually higher back up in the red. However, this is the best expression of the temperature plateau I've ever seen from them over the last 20 years. The one that has forced us to recognize that our past climate projections were really just not very good, and that has also given polluters an excuse to argue for deregulating their poisons. For more on the longer-term patterns and some of the things that caused those projections to be wrong for 20 years, go to our channel and click on the Climate Change playlist. Climate change is real. They've made errors in projecting the outcomes, but we can't lose focus. They also have a ton of precipitation info, droughts and floods. This is all linked for you guys below. Quickly looking at the top weather watches. All of southern Europe that is in a flood-prone zone needs to be monitoring the radars as these rain events appear like they could last a while. Ireland, UK, Iceland, that crash should happen today if it's not happening already. The US actually has two separate watch zones. The northern moisture flow will create flash flooding conditions along the east of the Appalachians, while a low will strengthen today to the west and may drop some tornadoes, so be wary there. Also, we'll come back to New Zealand. That one's going to crest today as well. Back to space weather. So finally, the latest shock wave after the earthquakes is actually being handled by the magnetosphere, and I mean handled completely. We don't have any geomagnetic storms, but unlike yesterday's Earth impacts, this one is dominating the sensitive flux, and we may yet see a KP ramp as well. Solar flaring should come back somewhat after a couple days in B range. This is due to the return of sunspots from the incoming limb. So far, not much complexity to this baby beta, but we'll keep watch. The larger incomers to the north appear mostly negative with only positive surrounding surface features. We expect impact from the coronal hole stream in 2 to 3 days. Plasma filaments still hiding behind the opening. and we should eye the sunspots for development. The Pittsburgh stop yesterday of the Mobile Observatory project was outstanding. I've linked an article written by the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review, who came out to see some sunspots and take some radiation readings. That's what we'll do all over the country. It was a great turnout, a very nice article from Adam Smeltz in the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review. Thank you guys very much. We're off to Hershey, PA today. The Hershey campground is where we'll be, and we welcome all central Pennsylvania observers to come out and enjoy the time tomorrow. Shots of our star to close. Eyes open. No fear at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and that's the news. Be safe, everyone.